high-stakes gambling, ultra-luxury super yachts, zero income tax, and a royal family running the smallest sovereign state on Earth. This is Monaco, the playground for billionaires that technically shouldn't exist. Welcome back to the channel, history enthusiasts and global explorers. Today, we uncover the shocking history, geopolitical trickery, and financial secrets behind the world's most glamorous microstate. High above the Mediterranean Sea sits a massive limestone rock known as the Rock of Monaco, a natural fortress that controlled one of the most vital naval corridors in southern Europe. Long before supercars lined the streets of Monte Carlo, this rocky outcrop was contested by ancient Greeks, Romans, and powerful Italian maritime empires. The true story of modern Monaco begins in January 1297 through an act of complete deceit and military cunning. A Genoese nobleman named Francois Grimaldi, fleeing political violence in Italy, arrived at the gates of the fortress disguised as a humble Franciscan monk. Begging for shelter from the cold night air, Grimaldi and his small group of loyal soldiers were granted entry by the unsuspecting guards. Once inside the heavy stone gates, Grimaldi drew a concealed sword beneath his holy robes, attacked the guardhouse, and captured the fortress for his family. This violent takeover laid the foundation for the House of Grimaldi, a dynasty that has ruled Monaco for over 700 years. However, holding on to a tiny rock surrounded by aggressive superpowers was an almost impossible task for an ambitious noble family. Throughout the Middle Ages, Monaco was repeatedly invaded, besieged, and claimed by larger European powers, including the Kingdom of France, the Republic of Genoa, and the Spanish Empire. The rulers of Monaco realized early on that physical strength alone could never guarantee their survival in a dangerous feudal Europe. Instead of relying on vast armies, the Grimaldis became masters of diplomacy, constantly shifting alliances to protect their tiny sovereignty. They pledged allegiance to Spain when the Spanish Empire dominated the Mediterranean, and quickly switched back to France when French power expanded. This opportunistic foreign policy kept the microstate alive, but the cost of maintaining royal prestige was steadily mounting. By the mid-19th century, Monaco found itself on the brink of complete political and economic collapse due to major territorial losses. In 1848, the nearby towns of Menton and Roquebrune revolted against the prince's heavy taxes on lemon export and agricultural trade. These two towns represented over 80% of Monaco's land area and almost all of its agricultural production and domestic income. When Menton and Roquebrune officially ceded to France in 1861, Monaco lost its main source of revenue overnight, leaving the monarchy nearly bankrupt. Reduced to less than 2 square kilometers of steep, rocky terrain, the tiny principality had no natural resources, no industry, and no farmland. Standard economic models dictated that Monaco should have disappeared from the map, absorbed entirely into the surrounding French nation. Yet, faced with total financial ruin, the ruling monarch executed one of the most daring economic gambles in human history. Facing total bankruptcy in the 1850s, Prince Charles III realized that traditional taxation on agriculture would no longer sustain his sovereign state. He needed a radical new business model that could attract wealth directly from the elite circles of industrializing Europe. The solution was surprisingly modern. Turn the barren coastal rocky cliffs into an exclusive destination for high-stakes gambling and luxury leisure. At the time,
Gambling was strictly illegal in neighboring France and across most of Western Europe, creating a massive, untapped market for legal gaming. Prince Charles III issued a royal decree legalizing casino operations, hoping to draw wealthy aristocrats across the border. However, the initial attempt was a complete disaster due to poor infrastructure and terrible transport connections. Visitors had to endure long, uncomfortable carriage rides over mountain passes or take unreliable steamboats along the coast to reach the isolated rock. Everything changed when Prince Charles partnered with François Blanc, a brilliant French entrepreneur known as the Magician of Hamburg. François brought immense private capital, extensive industry experience, and an unmatched understanding of high society psychology. Blanc understood that rich patrons didn't just want a casino, they wanted a luxurious paradise hidden away from public scrutiny. In 1863, Blanc established the Société des Bains de Mer, laying the groundwork for modern luxury tourism and high-end hospitality. A stunning casino was constructed on an isolated plateau named Monte Carlo, meaning Mount Charles, in honor of the reigning monarch. To solve the transportation crisis, Blanc and the prince negotiated directly with the French government to build a direct railway line connecting Paris to Monaco. When the railway opened in 1868, wealthy tourists, aristocrats, and international business tycoons flooded into the microstate by the thousands. Analysis surprising, Monaco had successfully engineered a self-sustaining financial engine, turning geographical isolation into an exclusive economic asset. By the turn of the 20th century, this tiny strip of land was generating more wealth per capita than almost any nation in Europe.
The grand illusions and effortless wealth of Monte Carlo were violently shattered by the outbreak of the First World War and the global turbulence that followed. Europe's aristocracy, the primary customer base supporting Monaco's luxury economy, was financially devastated by global conflict and political revolutions. The Russian Revolution wiped out the wealthy nobility that had spent decades pouring millions into Monaco's casino coffers. As the global economic depression crippled international travel and luxury spending, the interwar period struggled to maintain its revenue as global economic depression crippled international travel and luxury spending. However, the true existential test arrived with the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939. Monaco found itself trapped in a geopolitical nightmare, surrounded by fascist Italy and Nazi-occupied France while attempting to claim official neutrality. Prince Louis II faced an impossible balancing act, maintaining Monaco's legal independence while operating surrounded by hostile, militarized regimes. To keep the economy alive, Monaco became a shadowy financial center used by Nazi officials, foreign collaborators, and European elites to store illicit funds. Italian troops officially occupied the principality in November 1942, placing the royal court under constant military surveillance. When Italy surrendered to Allied forces in 1943, the German Wehrmacht moved in, transforming Monaco into an occupied zone. German forces fortified the coastlines, establishing gun emplacements along the luxury beaches where wealthy tourists had once sunbathed. Despite Monaco's declared neutrality, the local administration cooperated with Nazi authorities, leading to the arrest and deportation of foreign Jewish refugees hiding within the territory. This tragic chapter remains one of the most heavily scrutinized and controversial periods in the nation's long history. In September 1944,
Allied forces liberated Monaco, ending a dark era of foreign military occupation and moral compromise. After the war, the nation was left economically broken, politically isolated, and facing serious questions regarding its wartime financial transactions. European leaders questioned whether such a small, non-viable enclave should continue to exist as an independent state in the modern post-war order. Monaco needed another radical transformation to secure its future, and it found its catalyst in a young, dynamic new monarch, Prince Rainier III. In 1949, 36-year-old Prince Rainier III ascended the throne, taking charge of a nation that felt increasingly outdated and financially stagnant. Rainier understood that gambling alone could no longer support the state in an era of rapid globalization and modern international finance. He recognized that Monaco needed to modernize its infrastructure, expand its land, and rebrand its global image for the modern television era. His most brilliant PR masterstroke occurred in 1956 through an unlikely marriage that captivated the entire global public. Prince Rainier III married Grace Kelly, one of Hollywood's biggest film stars and the embodiment of mid-century elegance. Their fairy tale wedding was broadcast live to over 30 million viewers worldwide, providing unprecedented media exposure for the tiny sovereign nation. Capitalizing on this global attention, Prince Rainier initiated an ambitious campaign of physical expansion through ocean-land reclamation. Because Monaco was completely hemmed in by steep French mountains, the only way to expand the national territory was to build directly into the Mediterranean Sea. Through massive engineering projects, Rainier expanded Monaco's land area by over 20%, constructing entire new districts like Fontvieille out of the water. Simultaneously, Rainier reshaped Monaco's financial laws, transforming it from a simple casino town into a modern international banking center. Wealthy individuals and multinational corporations flocked to Monaco, taking advantage of its strict bank secrecy laws, zero property taxes, and complete lack of personal income tax. This rapid rise as an offshore tax shelter brought Monaco into direct conflict with France and its fiery president, Charles de Gaulle. In 1962, President de Gaulle surrounded Monaco with French customs officers, threatening a complete blockade if Monaco didn't reform its tax laws. Rainier held firm, using international media attention and skillful diplomacy to reach a historic compromise with the French state. French citizens living in Monaco were made subject to French income tax, but non-French foreign residents retained their complete tax-free status. Rainier's bold vision had succeeded. He had saved Monaco's sovereignty, doubled its physical presence, and secured its financial survival for generations.
Today, Monaco stands as the most densely populated sovereign state on Earth, compressing unimaginable wealth into a space smaller than New York's Central Park. Spanning just 2.1 square kilometers, this tiny coastal enclave is home to roughly 39,000 residents, representing over 140 nationalities. Remarkably, over 36% of Monaco's population are confirmed millionaires, giving it the highest concentration of millionaires anywhere on the planet. To secure legal residency here, individuals must prove substantial wealth, deposit millions into a local bank, and purchase or lease ultra-expensive real estate. As a direct consequence, Monaco features the most expensive real estate market in the world,
averaging over 50,000 euros per square meter. Apartment buildings do not expand outward, they push skyward into high-rise luxury towers or burrow deep into the cliffside rock faces. Despite its incredible density, Monaco is also one of the safest places on Earth, boasting a massive police presence and near-total video surveillance coverage. There is approximately one armed police officer for every 100 residents, ensuring that street crime is virtually non-existent. The state's ultimate global advertisement remains the Monaco Grand Prix, held annually since 1929 through the narrow, twisting city streets. Formula One race cars speed past historic casino plazas and oceanfront harbors at over 300 kilometers per hour, creating a sports spectacle unlike any other. The local economy has shifted from casino gambling, which now accounts for less than 4% of state revenue, to private banking, real estate, and wealth management. Monaco operates with zero sovereign debt and maintains substantial financial reserves, allowing it to fund public infrastructure projects without income taxation. However, maintaining this paradise for the ultra-wealthy requires an ongoing invisible workforce commuting daily across international borders. Every single morning, tens of thousands of French and Italian workers commute into Monaco to service its hotels, clean its superyachts, and staff its banks. Without this daily influx of foreign labor, the hyper-luxurious lifestyle of Monaco's billionaire residents would instantly grind to a complete halt.
From the perspective of modern geopolitics and economic history, the continued existence of Monaco remains a bizarre, fascinating anomaly. In an era dominated by massive nation-states, global tax treaties, and international regulation, a sovereign feudal state without taxes seems impossible. Monaco survives primarily because its powerful neighbor, France, allows it to exist under a strictly controlled military and political arrangement. Under historic treaties, France guarantees Monaco's defense and political independence, while Monaco agrees to align its foreign policies with French interests. If the ruling Grimaldi dynasty ever fails to produce an heir, Monaco will not become an independent republic. It will become an autonomous protectorate of France. Today, the microstate faces immense new challenges that threaten the very economic foundation it was built upon. Global organizations like the European Union and the OECD are continuously putting pressure on tax havens to end financial secrecy and combat tax evasion. To avoid international blacklisting, Monaco has been forced to sign information-sharing agreements, slowly chipping away at its famed banking privacy. Furthermore, climate change poses an immediate physical threat to a low-lying coastal nation built largely on reclaimed land along the ocean edge. Prince Albert II, who took the throne in 2005, has redirected national policies toward environmental sustainability and marine conservation. To accommodate its growing elite population, Monaco is currently completing the Mare Terra project, a $6 billion eco-friendly land expansion into the sea. Can Monaco balance international financial regulations and rising sea levels while continuing to serve as the world's premier billionaire sanctuary? For over 7 centuries, this tiny rock has adapted to medieval warfare, economic ruin, European wars, and global tax pressure. It survived not through military strength, but through extreme adaptability, creative diplomacy, and an unmatched understanding of human greed and wealth. Monaco remains a glittering geopolitical contradiction, an ancient feudal monarchy
flourishing at the absolute center of modern capitalism. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Monaco's improbable history, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which microstate we should cover next.